Thanks. Lian, my bass playing partner, and I met studying architecture at UNSW in 2001, and we were together for about 5 years before we ever started playing music together, and that's because this was her favourite band. But eventually we did begin, I think it was actually Mozart. We sat down on the piano and she played the right hand and I played the left hand, and we just very informally began making music together, and that slowly sort of, we settled into that and it became our thing, and then more people started joining us, and my friends would come around, you know, and have dinner and open a couple of bottles of wine, and then we'd make music. And it was brilliant fun. And I had been writing songs for quite a while as something that I did very individually and seriously. And I'd been playing in open mic nights and playing gigs as a solo performer where I would play my original music, and it was serious. And it was very different from the way that we'd begun to make music together. And this was a film festival that I played at, and I kept getting offered these gigs until eventually I got offered a Friday night in a pub, and it just required too much noise. I couldn't generate that much noise to play. So I got in touch with my brother-in-law, Steve, who's a really good guitarist and who writes songs as well, so it gave us a bit more material. And that sort of made sense. We could play together, except we also had problems that we liked radically different music, and he's really into Radiohead and clever rock in general, and I'm not particularly into clever rock. I like his guitar though, and whereas the music that I was beginning to get into at this point was more of a 1960s soul era kind of thing. I'd been researching Hammond organs and stuff like that. This is Clayton Doley, who's an Australian player who's playing in Sydney around. You should check him out. And there's just an amazing feeling in that music. And we were looking for a way to sort of meet so that we could put on gigs, really. And we'd always known, the Beatles. Particularly late era Beatles. It just seemed that sound had what we were looking for. And that was enough. We had that and we just took off. We had our own songs. Lian was playing bass and Steve was on guitar and I had a Hammond. And we just played, and it went really well. It was kind of a surprise that it went really well. It had come from being these sort of late night jam sessions, and we were this acoustic trio for a while. But you're not really a band until you've got a drummer, and I'd always resisted having a drummer because a drummer is, you become a band once you have a drummer. Steve was working with Tony at the time. They are sound guys and we are architects. And we helped him record for a band that he was in that was just breaking up at the time. And got interested in playing with him. And then almost immediately, Lian and I went overseas with a list of buildings to see and a list of guitars to buy. And this is me playing Hellman's Dream guitar, Steve, my brother-in-law, in front of the Gehry building at MIT. And we just wandered around the US, really, and listened to music and looked at buildings. And we got down to New Orleans and something just changed, and there was this weird atmosphere, and it was brilliant, and it was completely captivating and inspiring. And we were over there for 6 weeks, just Lian and I, and didn't practice, didn't do anything, and came back absolutely convinced that we were better musicians for having been there. There was something about the way that people play, and the confidence that they have as well, and I think they see great people playing all the time, and then so it becomes believable to them that they could play greatly. This is a blues dude in Memphis. I can't remember his name at the moment, but they were everywhere, and it's inspiring. This is me in Sun Records. The black cross on the floor marks where Elvis stood to record his early albums. And Memphis was sort of a strange place, but there was a lot to do there, and Gibson guitars that we'd kind of always dreamed of owning. Wow, we could own Gibson guitars. Are made there, and Lian found this bass, and that was kind of I think there's something about getting the real instrument. Suddenly you begin to see yourself as somebody who could be a real musician, We do this as a nighttime sort of masquerade job, but the whole process that we've been going through, I think, really is beginning to imagine yourself as somebody who actually is a musician. Steve can't be here tonight because he's in France for a year, and so before he left we got into a studio and just recorded all the songs that we'd been playing, and that was a major breakthrough in beginning to see yourself as somebody who is actually in a band. We stayed in a hotel together and we drank too much, and then we had to wake up and have a coffee and then get in the studio and work, and it was brilliant, and it actually worked very well, and we got some really nice recordings that we're currently working on, and we're sort of emailing various mixes and extra parts and overdubs and things like that around the world, and it's something that I think we're all really excited about. And then the last couple of slides I've got are just the last few gigs that we played in the run-up. It got quite emotional because it was beginning to happen. There was this feeling of momentum. This is a gig at a brick showroom in the last Sydney Architecture Festival. And it's actually how we got invited to play tonight as well. And it was a very strange gig, and we had this string of really strange gigs, but this one was just, there was something right about a grand piano in a brick showroom, I think. And this is the last slide. This is in a warehouse. In fact, our sound guy, Dan's warehouse. And the wonderful thing about this gig was that it was the first time a friend of ours who'd come to all of our shows, I think, she said at the end, I used to come and see you because you're my friends, but now it's like seeing a band. Which was sort of a backhanded insult and a compliment at the same time. So thank you for having us. I hope you'll stick around. We're going to play again.